Hi there. I'm Francoise Von Trapp, and this is the 3D Insights Podcast. Okay, so my next guest is Jim Gartzka from Plasmatherm. Tell me a little bit about Plasmatherm and why you are here at the show today.
Well, we're here at the show to promote our European presence. Europe is expanding. Our percentage of revenue in Europe has been increasing year over year. We want to take advantage of that and show the customers here that we are local. We have a presence in France, our manufacturing and application lab, and we're local for support, tech support, spare parts. So we've really expanded the reach of the company to have faster and better support that's local rather than relying on something from the United States.
And you manufacture all sorts of process tools, but all plasma-based?
It's plasma-based. It's primarily etch equipment, deposition, plasma dicing on tape frames. And the fourth area is our newer technology, and that's the rapid thermal annealing processes. And that's part of the acquisition that we had at the end of 2020 with getting part of the OEM group.
I see, okay. And is that where the heat pulse came from?
Yeah, that's where the heat pulse came from, and that's what we're promoting this week. I know when we looked at that product line, the very last brand new heat pulse that was manufactured was 1996. And since that time, all of the other companies that owned that brand, they focused on a refurbishment model. We took a different path because the tool is so old. Many of the components you can't get anymore.
Okay.
So we went to a brand new heat pulse. So we retained the oven technology. So we limited the risk for the customers. They wouldn't have to requalify their process. And then we repackaged that onto an existing Plasmatherm platform. So all new control system, our Cortex software, all new automation. So it's a brand new tool. They can continue to use it for the next 10 to 20 years. And we're able to support the tool with parts. And then by doing all that engineering work for a new platform, we're now able to pivot from a refurbishment model to a remanufacturing model. So if those customers couldn't afford a brand new system, they can send one back and we'll essentially gut the system, retain the oven, and give them a brand new tool.
Oh, well, that's really cool. And is that manufactured in the U.S.?
Currently, that would be manufactured in the U.S., yes.
So how have people been responding?
Positive. It's a brand new product. We have multiple orders and already repeat orders from one customer. It's really focused on the 200 millimeter and below silicon market.
Okay.
The first few projects were more silicon carbide for power devices.
Okay.
And we've already have orders for a couple of European locations,
Great.
Southeast Asia,
Okay.
Japan, China.
We were talking about silicon carbide.
Yes.
And that is a really growing space right now.
It is. It's a big it's important for us. That's what we've always called the specialty semiconductors, and that's our core market. Gallium arsenide, silicon carbide, GaN. It's been growing nicely, and it's going to continue to grow. Those are a lot of the power devices, or all of the consumer electronic chips that are not in your computer per se. It's all the other stuff.
Well, electric vehicles.
Electric vehicles is big. The charging stations.
The charging stations as well.
Yes.
Okay. That was one of the big topics in the keynotes earlier this week. And one thing that Kate Wilson from Edwards came up with was, it's great to be reducing carbon footprint with electric vehicles, but we need to make sure that the energy used to power those electric vehicles is also renewable energy, because otherwise you're just kicking the can down the road.
Exactly. And I think that the more we go down this road, pretty soon people are going to start paying attention to what they're paying, like a kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
Like now no one has any, just plug in my car.
Right. I don't know. I'd pay attention to what it did to my electric bill in the house.
You did?
I mean,
No,
I haven't gotten one yet, but I would pay attention if I get one, because that's one of my concerns is, okay, so what's that going to do to my electric bill living in Arizona and all of that? So if there was more of a charging station infrastructure, then I would be much more apt to get an electric vehicle as my next car. Since you have locations in Europe and in the U.S., okay, you must be keeping an eye on what's happening in the governments around the EU CHIPS Act and the CHIPS and Science Act.
In the U.S., yes, it's a little exciting for us because in Plasmatherm, a little unique in our industry. It's not all manufacturing focused.
Okay.
The genesis, the DNA of the company was all in the R&D university. That's how the Plasmatherm got its start. And we retain a lot of those core customers to this day. We have one suite of tools that's geared for and designed for the manufacturing customer. We still have a lot of non-automated systems that we call it lab and research-focused customer base uses. And the amount of activity, governmental activity in Europe and the U.S. is affecting all of those customer base with activities. There's a lot of excitement in the research community where they're trying to take advantage of the kind of unique period in time to get some additional research going.
You must be happy to see R&D being funded then.
Yeah, yes.
It's also part of the European funding.
It's the same. Yes. It's at both locations. We see increased activities in both the U.S. and Europe around that space right now. As
an equipment supplier, are you able to tap into those funds, or is it basically the R&D organizations are going to get the funds, so then they will add capacity?
It's more of the latter, but in the U.S. there are opportunities for an equipment supplier to tap into the CHIPS Act, and in that sense, it was also refreshing to see how I think the government or the people putting that piece of legislation together learned. Like they specifically said they don't want that Solyndra, if you remember Solyndra, and the big investment in the Bay Area.
I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, that was, what was that, 2015, 16. We gave a big subsidy to the government, and a few months later they went bankrupt. Made a lot of negative.
Good. So bad investment.
So for companies like us or an equipment company, if you want to take advantage of the CHIPS Act, you can, but it's almost like you have to show you have a good business and that it's funded ahead of time, and it's almost like a reimbursement that the government, if they get all these applications and they view your application as, yes, it's investable, it would make money, we see you have it funded, then you have the opportunity to get some money back from the government.
Okay, so it's kind of like tax. Is that where the tax incentives are?
That's a different program. Okay. Yeah.
But it's not a loan. You don't have to pay this money back.
No, correct.
Wow, that's really cool. Anyhow, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
Always good to chat.
You too.
And enjoy the rest of the show.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
There's lots more to come, so tune in next time to the 3D Insights podcast.